Today's project is a custom breast collar and matching headstall. And we'll get started with the pattern cut out. Go here to the trusty bin, rummage around here in the patterns and find my cutouts.
Those are definitely all sitting on top, and we didn't have to look for them for
That's right.
45 minutes.
That's right. Definitely got those
First try.
first try. That wasn't a setup at all. All right, so when I'm doing breast collars, I like to lay them out long ways on the hide. This is where the least amount of stretch is versus this is toward the belly.
So this is 1/2 of a full cowhide.
1/2, correct.
So if you can imagine the spine, basically,
And this half would be right
that
here.
line there.
Yep. First thing you do before you lay out is you look at the flesh side and you make sure there aren't any knife cuts. Because a lot of times what can happen is you can have a knife cut, like right here, where the leather's thin, and you can really see it here. So you know to avoid that in your piece. And these are all, just natural wrinkles and range markings and stuff. But when they butcher a cow, sometimes they'll lay a knife. Sometimes they'll lay a knife in too far. Most often it happens on the necks. But anyway, you'll get a cut through the skin, cause a weak spot. So anyway, you got to inspect. Right there's one. So you know to miss it. All right, so we'll cut out right and left. What you got to make sure you do is get the right and left and not right and right. Don't ask me how I know that. Obviously, it's a mistake I've made a few times. See that flipping motion?
That's the key right there, huh?
Yeah, flipping.
Not slide.
Do a quick strop on the blade here. Try to keep the knife just moving at a constant pace so that the lines are even and smooth. And then anything that I don't like curve-wise, I'll take over to the grinder and sand it down. Whole hide in the way. Now see how I just bounced out right there? So here's my line, and I bounced out. If I kept cutting, I'd have this bump here. So instead of panicking, what I'll do there is I'll continue that line, and then I'll go fix that on the grinder. And I'll round that and get that curve back. This is going to be floral carved. Now, did you notice when I was cutting this piece, this part came from right up here along the spine? And you notice it was harder for me to cut through because the spine leather, this leather that runs especially here in the rump and along the spine, is the densest grain fiber, so it makes for the best straps, place where you want to get stuff that has the most strength demand on it. It doesn't need to mold as much. And sometimes you'll run into some rawhide where they didn't get it tanned all the way through. And this is 8 to 10 ounce skirting is what I make my strap goods out of.
So what's the heaviest leather that you would ever use?
13 to 15 ounce.
For skirts?
For skirts.
Not dancing skirts, but
right. And rigging.
Saddle skirts.
And rigging, yeah. Somebody who's gonna rope. Use your saddle for roping and stuff like that. I'd use that heavy weight. But if someone's just trail riding, you don't need all that extra strength, so then you can make the saddle lighter. This way you get nice, graceful curves. So we're gonna take you through tooling this breast collar. We've got the two straps and the centerpiece to tool, and then we'll assemble it and get it finished. Start out with edging. Oops. Good thing that wasn't important.
Is there a specificity to the direction that you're going with this? With your edging?
No.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Into the grain, with
right.
the grain.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. As long as this is a sharp blade, I like to use these interchangeables. So after, I don't know, several saddles, they get so, this groove gets so far back that you can't really sharpen them anymore. You just buy a new one. Just replace it.
How much are they?
$8. So this, we're just dragging that across there a couple of times to just re-hone that.
What grit is that? Sandpaper.
3,000.
There you go.
There you go. All right, then we'll put the stitching bevel on here. It's a number 5. Anybody's curious? Osborne number 5 bevel. Beater, I guess, is what you call it. Really, it's a beater. And then that's the return to the center ring. D-ring return. And then lay this tooling pattern on it approximately where it's going to end up, so I can get a rough idea where I'm finishing. And about where I'm going to put my edge on it. This is a pattern I've used before.
How many uses do you get out of a single pattern?
Well, if I'm gonna make, if I make them off of my website and people want it exactly like that, and they want that exact pattern, I'll reuse this 5 or 6 times, and then I'll have to redraw it because this paper gets, this vellum gets pretty ragged, and that won't carry the edge very well, or the lines very well.
So we got our transfer marks on there.
Yep. So then we'll take this and kind of roughly mark. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show myself where the interior of this is and where I'm ending. Right? So now I'll double check myself before I've committed to cutting that edge. Because once you've cut this, I can, make some adjustments there if that's too narrow. Might have to move this pattern around a little bit as we're going here. Yeah, that's pretty good. We'll start with this.
Sandbagging.
Start sandbagging.
I like that leaf. That's cool.
That's one I've used. I used to use it quite a bit, but I don't really use it anymore. And the reason I'm using it on this is this is a customer that ordered something from the website that's this exact pattern, so I had to go back and dig it all up. But that, a lot of times that happens is I'll have not really done a flower for a long time, and then I'll go back to something I did before and think, wow, I like that. So then I'll reuse it, put it back into circulation. Let's see what I want to do here. Just carry this out like this. Over the end here. All right, so now I'll start carving it. the first thing I'll do is reestablish this edge here. The nice thing about using, so this is just a pointed compass point, and it puts a really sharp score in the leather, so that when I go back over that line with my swivel knife, it'll follow that really accurately, and then you get a nice straight border. You can see how hard I'm pushing. So then watch how this follows that really easily. Okay, so now that we've got this all carved and all the lines are cut, and I'll go through with the push beveler and press down every place that I want to recess. So any of these lines that are going to be pushed up, this beveler gives me a nice smooth guide. All right, so that's, I've got a waffle pattern, just a pretty basic. And it's got an angle, so if you hit straight, it's going to angle. It's going to angle up, so that you're not pressing the whole thing down, just the edge. And so I'll do this exact thing over the entire piece. And you just light hammer strikes and just drag it the full length.
So that stamp is basically floating just above the surface of the leather, and then he uses the hammer to actually make contact with the leather.
Right. So you try to get as even a line as you can get, so you don't see every single strike.
So the whole thing looks textured.
Yeah.
Rather than just.
Now they do sell tools that you can actually just run, and then stuff like this where I just barely went over it and missed it, that will be removed with the beater at the very end when I run that beater over the edge. But they make a tool that's just on a wheel.
And you just roll it and roll it,
and it's a lot faster.
And it probably doesn't look very good, does it?
It doesn't lay down as deep a impression. And you can't control it on the tight curves. The thing about this is you vary the depth of your strike. Okay, so right now it's a pretty even, even contact because I'm just making an edge to this. I'm basically defining the interior. So when I get into tooling the flowers and the leaves and stuff, I'll vary the depth of the impression so that it pushes things further away. And I'll show you what I mean here. All right, so if I'm going to do this interior like this, I want that depth. I want that deeper. See how much darker that is than this? So I've gone a lot deeper with that. And so that I want that interior corner to really have some relief to it. And then that brings the next level a lot higher. But on something like this where it's just barely overlapping, I'll do a lot lighter impression so that that part looks like it's raising from the background. At least that's what I think it does. It's the way I've been doing it for 30 years. And then when I need the tighter corners, so like if I'm going to do this same beveler, same waffle pattern, just a narrower, so I can get these tighter turns. So like this, and I can go around these little humps like that, and that allows me to. And can you hear with the hammer how I'm lighter and then heavier, and lighter and heavier, so you get that variation in how deep your pattern looks. Optical illusion, but the key to making it look, the key to making tooling look rich is lots of variation in depth and texture, and so that everything looks like it's being lifted off of the background. All right, now that I've got all of this recessed, all these lines recessed, I'm going to go in with this pattern, this little waffle stamp, and I'll go over and I'll show you. I'll go over all a little pair called a pear shader, and I'll go through here and I'll go through all of the, and it's the same concept as the edging. I'm floating this, right? I'm floating this, so I'm letting the mallet press it down. So then I just kind of randomly.
That's a nice texture there. So rather than that kind of smoother texture that you did before, now more coarse.
Right, right. And then this gives it a place for, it enhances the recess, and then when I do the antiquing on this, then it's a rough enough surface that it holds the antiquing in place. So you end up with a really nice contrast between the highs and the lows. And I'll go through and do this all over the whole thing, and then the next step will be some of the detail work in the pattern, and the leaves and the flower and stuff like that. This is just a pear burnisher, smooth, and I use it to do these depressions like this. So on a leaf, if I want to get some detail on a leaf, I'll start with a heavy wax, and then just get lighter as I go around the curve. One or two lines, depending on how thick the leaf is. And I'll just go through and do all of these little leaves like this. Once I get all of this burnished like that, then I'll come back with my line tool and give a little more detail to the whole thing. But this just goes on and on. All right, so I use a number 1 beater double line. There it is. Yep. And then I'll drag this along this edge, along this border line here. Just slowly follow that cut line. A lot of pressure. And see how that creates that little bead and gives it a nice finished look. Try your best to keep it in one long motion. All right, so then, all done. I'll oil this, antique it, and we'll get to final assembly. All right, and we let that sit overnight and penetrate, and you'll see it comes out a lot lighter after that oil's dove in a little bit. All right, finished breast collar, fully tooled, completely free articulating billets, so there's free shoulder movement. I finished with chaff leather lining, protect both the breast collar and the horse from sweat and rubbing. It's ready to go.